desires. All right, everybody. This, I know I kind of get boisterous and whatnot when it comes to Paul and how the lawless twist Paul's words, to fool other people. But I certainly will admit that Paul is a Shaul. Remember, Shaul is a master wordsmith. He's word salad. He was the first guy who, they talk now about word salad. Paul was he was the first one to do it. He was very wordy. Remember, he was a Pharisee, so he almost seems like he's like a politician where he talks, just can't get to the point. It's very his writing, they say that writing, when you study writing, it's, I think I said this in the last video, it's a representation of how the thoughts in your mind are, are they thought through, see, now I'm like, it shows how well the thoughts in your mind are parsed out, how you're not just choppy, like all over the place. It's how mind can flow, and just, of course, I'm brain farting right now talking about the subject, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. When your writing shows, when you're talking, you can kind of use vocabulary to just make your thoughts flow. But when you're forced to put pen to paper, that's when it's different. You truly have to think logically and soundly and lay it out in a manner cohesive manner. Exactly. Thank you. So that took like 45 seconds to get that out. I was searching for the right way. And that's why it's so much harder for people to write papers as opposed to just, talk about a subject or whatever. But I want to read this because I will show you that this, of course, absolutely, I admit, this is really can be confusing. So I want to read this. It's Paul. We're in Romans 7, chapter 7. I'm going to read all of it, I think.
Most of it.
Or do you not know, brothers, for I speak to those knowing the Torah, that the Torah rules over a man as long as he lives. So he's talking to the Yehudim. He's still, remember everybody.
He's still talking to Rome, right?
Yeah, remember everybody. This is a specific instance here. That's where people get hung up too, where it's like, well, Paul says, and they think that Paul is just making announcements for everybody all the time. Paul is talking to specific people in each letter here. He's not necessarily making general statements for everything. It's like how people twist. I think it's back in the Old Testament. I forgot which prophet, but it's like, he says, no man is righteous now. There's not one. And the church will teach people to say, well, see, it says right here, this verse, and they'll read that verse, and you're like, wow, the Bible does say there's no man can't be righteous. But it was a prophet talking about, I think it was not Sodom and Gomorrah, but the point was talking about an instance before, I think one of the exiles or both maybe, where there was not one Israelite or Yehudi, Jew left from Judah that was righteous. They were all crooked. There was no saving them. That's why the exile came. There was not one left that was righteous. That's what that meant. But the church doesn't tell you or explain the context of that statement. And that's what they do with Paul. So remember, Paul Shaul is not necessarily making blatant. He does sometimes, but so you got to read this as he's reading it to them. You got to remember the context. For the married woman has been bound by Torah to the living husband, but if the husband dies, she is released from the Torah concerning her husband. So then, while her husband lives, she shall be called an adulteress if she becomes another man's. But if her husband dies, she is free from that part of the Torah, so that she is not an adulteress, having become another man's. So, my brothers, you also were put to death to the Torah through the body of Messiah, for you to become another's, the one who was raised from the dead, that we should bear fruit to Elohim. So this is just a quick example. This is where it starts to get wordy. Yeah. For when we were in the flesh, the passions of sins so remember, I want to clue you in. He's talking now about the battle between the want of the flesh, the sinning, the nature of what we want, our flesh, versus our mind and where we want to be pure and follow make Elohim, our dad, proud and follow the rules. It's just an easy way to explain it. But the body is like, no, let's go to Vegas and party. And the mind's like, no, we have to stay righteous for Father.
Yeah, our spirit.
So this is what 7 is about. Keep that in mind. For when we were in the flesh, the passion of sins through the Torah, we're working in our members to bear fruit to death. But now we have been released from the Torah. See, now what the church will do is take that one sentence there and say, see. And what they won't do is explain to you what I just did for the podcast, a couple minutes, specifics, context. Having died to what we were held by, so that we should serve in a newness of spirit and not in the oldness of letter. And they'll say that too. What then shall we say? Is the Torah sin? Let it not be. So then, I could say, well, see, he's backtracking. That's what happens when you throw verses at one another in debates and don't have context. Is the Torah sin? Let it know. Okay. However, I did not know sin except through the Torah. Now remember, we're touching upon the fact that in order to know what the laws are, you need to know them. You need to actually written out and explained to you.
In order to know what sin is.
So he's saying the Torah makes known what sin is. For also the covetousness, no one can pronounce that. I knew not if the Torah had not said, you shall not covet. So he explains, this is the context. He's saying, I wouldn't have known not to covet if it didn't say you shall not covet. Now, let's see. But sin, having taken the occasion through the command, did work in me all sorts of covetousness. For apart from the Torah, sin is dead. So he's saying, having the occasion, it did work in me. So he's saying, but even though I knew, I still did it. And I was alive apart from the Torah once. But when the command came, the sin revived and I died. It's just a word salad. It's confusing. And the command, which was to result in life, this I found to result in death. So I think what he's saying there is the Torah was supposed to represent life back. That's what they thought back then.
Yeah.
But really, it was death because they couldn't keep it.
They couldn't keep it.
Yes.
For death penalty.
Yes. For sin, having taken the occasion through the command, deceived me, and through it killed me. Yeah. So he's saying through the command of the Torah, I thought it was giving me life, but it deceived me because I couldn't follow it. People can't follow it, and so they were dead because the wages of sin is death.
Right.
Yes. So remember, people, this is what you got to do when you read. I know it can be confusing. This is our fourth time reading this, and it's
You need the spirit.
Yeah.
You
need help from people, and not people
too.
that are just the sheep. I'm not trying to make fun, but not the sheep that have been in, you know what I'm going to say. So that the Torah truly is set apart, and the command set apart, and righteous and good. So the intent, the Torah is set apart, and the laws are good. Remember, the book itself and the laws don't do anything. It's what you do with them. So he's just saying the laws are good. They're good laws. Like don't steal, don't covet, whatever. Therefore, has that which is good become death to me? Let it not be. But the sin might be manifest, was working death in me through what is good. So his body's wanting for sin was working death to him because he was breaking the rules.
Breaking the rules, and that's
definitely. Working it so that sin through the command might become an exceedingly great sinner. For we know that the Torah is spiritual, but I am fleshly. There's where you start to figure this out. So again, in the mind, to make it more simple, you want to follow the Torah. You don't want to break the rules. But the body, the flesh, is like, let's party. For what I work, I know not. For what I wish, that I do not practice. But what I hate, that I do. He doesn't like the fact that he wants to sin. But if I do what I do not wish, I agree with the Torah, and that is good. And now it is no longer I that work it, but the sin dwelling in me. For I know that in me, that is in my flesh, dwells no good. So, the body wants what it wants, that, you want this. For to wish is present with me, but to work the good I do not find. Sorry for the awkward pauses sometimes. I'm reading through the phone, it's a little weird. For the good that I wish to do, I do not do, but the evil I do not wish to do, this I practice. So he's saying I really want to be good, but I can't. I'm just going to go party. So that's, that's what we're talking about here. And if I do that which I do not wish, it is no longer I who work it, but the sin dwelling in me. I find, therefore, this law, that when I wish to do the good, that the evil is present with me. So he wants to be good, but he breaks the law. He's like, I gotta covet, or whatever. For I delight in the Torah of Elohim according to the inward man, what you want, the righteous part of you. But I see another Torah in my members in his body, battling against the Torah of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the Torah of sin, which is in my body members. Wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from this body of death? Thanks to Elohim through Yeshua Messiah, our Master. So then, with the mind, I myself truly serve the Torah of Elohim, but with the flesh, the Torah of sin. So there you go. This is a perfect example of don't let people twist Paul for you. He's not saying we don't do the Torah. It's not it at all. It's not it at all. It's just really nothing to. This is about your battle within you. Yeah. Because yes, Yeshua, there's black and white. Yeshua said, as long as everything's still here, the law's still in play. If you love me, keep my commands. I give you no new word. Okay. But you. So the Torah is what it is. It's the battle inside you. You've got to be righteous. Remember Luke 1:6, blamelessly walking in the commands of Yah. It doesn't mean perfect. It means you're trying to follow the rules in the Torah. We know you want to do good, but you're still a person and stuck in this human body, and you're going to sin. And because Elohim loves us so much, he sent his only son down to pay our debts. So that when we sin, through grace, not through our works, through grace. So when we sin, we're covered and we can still be with him.
Because grace.
Okay? That's what this is about right here. This explains, the gap, the wide gap between people who follow Torah like I do and explain it like I do in churchianity is this right here. Now, I personally think, the conspiracy part of me thinks that the seminary are teaching on these preachers and doing this on purpose. That's another video for another day. But please, I beg you, I hope you watch this video over and over and really, with the Spirit, and read it in your own Bible. There it is. So, if you have any questions, let me know. Peace out.